The massive ship hung in the darkness of space like a knife pointed at Earth's heart. Inside the command center, Admiral Crone stood tall, his scaled skin reflecting the blue light of the screens around him. His six-fingered hand touched the viewing panel, bringing the small blue planet into focus. 17 worlds have fallen before us, he said to his officers. This will be the 18th. The Vicari Empire stretched across a large part of the galaxy. For 100 years they had moved from one star system to another, taking what they wanted. No one could stop them. Their bodies were stronger, their weapons more powerful, and their ships faster than anything they had ever met. Until now they had never even heard of Earth. Tell me about these humans, Crone said to his science officer. Officer Zelk bowed slightly. They are soft creatures, Admiral. They have no scales or armor. Their bones break easily. Their technology is basic. They fight among themselves over small pieces of land and different beliefs. They will not stand against us for long. Crone nodded, pleased. How many of them? About 8 billion, Zelk replied. 8 billion new workers for our mines, Crone said with a smile that showed his sharp teeth. Prepare the invasion plan. We will land in their largest cities first. Show our power. They will give up quickly. Yes, Admiral, his officers said together. On Earth, Captain Do-Yoon Kim was having a normal day until the alarm started ringing. He ran to the control room of South Korea's space monitoring station, where screens were flashing red warnings. What's happening? He asked the room. A young technician looked up, her face pale. Sir, we're picking up objects entering our solar system. Big objects, moving very fast. Do-Yoon looked at the screens. This was not normal space debris or asteroids. The objects were moving with purpose, changing direction in ways natural objects couldn't. Call Dr. Park, he ordered. Right now. 20 minutes later, Dr. Ji-woo Park rushed into the room. Her hair was messy, and she was still wearing her lab coat. She had been friends with Do-Yoon since they were children, and he had never called her with such urgency before. What am I looking at? She asked, studying the screens. We don't know, Do-Yoon said, but they're heading straight for Earth. Ji-woo's fingers flew over the keyboard as she ran calculations. These are ships, she finally said. Big ones, and they'll reach Earth in about 3 days. The room went quiet. Are you sure? Do-Yoon asked. Yes, Ji-woo said. The way they're moving, it's not natural. Someone is controlling them. Do-Yoon took a deep breath. We need to tell the government and the UN right away. 3 hours later, Do-Yoon and Ji-woo sat in a video conference with officials from around the world. Most looked like they didn't believe what they were hearing. Aliens? Said the American representative with a laugh. You must be joking. The data is clear, Ji-woo said firmly. These are ships, and they're coming here. Even if they are ships, said the Chinese official, they could be friendly. They're moving in attack formation, Do-Yoon pointed out. And they haven't tried to communicate with us. The UN Secretary General raised her hand for quiet. We can't ignore this warning, even if it seems unlikely. Captain Kim, Dr. Park, keep monitoring these objects. Report any changes immediately. Meanwhile, I will quietly alert world leaders to prepare for all possibilities. As the call ended, Do-Yoon looked at Ji-woo. They don't believe us. They will, she said. Soon. 2 days passed. The objects grew closer. More space agencies around the world began to detect them. News stations started to report on the strange signals. People looked up at the night sky, wondering. In his office at the military base, Do-Yoon received a call from Commander Minho Lee of the International Special Forces. I believe you, Minho said without greeting. And I'm putting together a team. A team for what? Do-Yoon asked. To fight back if we need to, Minho answered. I want you on it. Before Do-Yoon could respond, the lights in his office flickered. His computer screen went blank. Outside, he heard cars stopping in the street as their engines died. I'll call you back, he said into the now-dead phone. Do-Yoon ran outside. All across the city, power was failing. Cars stopped. Phones went silent. And in the daylight sky, Visible despite the sun, hung massive dark shapes. The Vicari had arrived. "Report," Admiral Crone demanded as his ship entered Earth orbit. "Our disruption field is working, Admiral," Officer Zelk said. "Their communication systems are failing. Their weapon systems are offline. They are blind and unable to coordinate." "Excellent," Crone said. "Begin the broadcast." Around the world, every working screen, in homes, in offices, on buildings, suddenly showed the same image. A tall, scaled creature with 6 fingers and sharp teeth. It spoke, and somehow everyone understood the words in their own language. "People of Earth. I am Admiral Crone of the Vicari Empire. Your planet is now under our control. Do not resist. Those who surrender will live to serve the Empire. Those who fight will be destroyed. You have 24 hours to lay down your weapons and prepare for our arrival. Your leaders will present themselves to our ships to offer your surrender. That is all." The message played over and over. In the street outside his office, Do-yoon watched people panic. Some ran, some cried, some stood frozen looking at the sky. His phone buzzed. Emergency systems were still working. It was Ji-woo. "Are you seeing this?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "Where are you?" "At the lab. Come quickly. I think I found something important." An hour later, Do-yoon arrived at Ji-woo's lab. She had backup generators running her equipment. "Look at this," she said, pointing to her computer. "I've been analyzing their ship since they entered our solar system. They're giving off some kind of radiation I've never seen before. But more importantly, I've detected small scout ships leaving the main fleet." "Scouts?" Do-yoon asked. "Yes, they're coming down to Earth, probably to check us out before the main invasion." Do-yoon's phone buzzed again. It was Commander Minho. "Kim, where are you?" Minho asked. "With Dr. Park at her lab. She's tracking scout ships landing on Earth." No. One is heading for Seoul right now. I'm sending coordinates to your phone. Meet me there with Dr. Park. I have a plan." "What plan?" Do-yoon asked. "We're going to catch ourselves an alien," Minho replied. As night fell, Do-yoon and Ji-woo met Minho at the edge of a park. With them were 2 more people, Sergeant Hyejin Kang, known for her brilliant tactical mind, and technical specialist Junho, Choi, a computer genius. "According to Dr. Park's data, a scout ship will land here in 20 minutes, Minho explained. "We're going to capture it and its pilot." "How?" Hyejin asked. "We don't know what weapons they have. We'll use the park sprinkler system," Minho said. "Junho has hacked into it. We'll create a mud pit that might disable their technology. Then we rush them." "That's your plan?" Ji-woo asked in disbelief. "You have a better one?" Minho challenged. Before she could answer, a light appeared in the sky. It grew brighter as it descended toward the park. "Everyone hide," Minho ordered. "Junho, get ready with those sprinklers." As they took cover behind trees and bushes, the small ship landed silently, in the middle of the park. Its surface gleamed like oil under the moonlight. A door opened in its side and a figure stepped out. The Vicari scout was tall and moved with confidence. It carried a strange weapon and wore what looked like armor. It began to scan the area with a device in its hand. "Now," Minho whispered, into his radio. The park's sprinklers burst to life, spraying water everywhere. The ground quickly turned to mud. The alien looked around in confusion as its feet sank into the soft earth. "Go," Minho shouted. The 5 humans rushed forward from different directions. The alien raised its weapon, but Hyejin threw a rock, knocking it from the creature's hand. Junho ran straight to the ship, pulling out his laptop, somehow already working. To hack into its systems, the alien fought hard, moving with surprising speed despite the mud, but it seemed to struggle with Earth's gravity, its movements becoming slower as the fight continued. Together, Do-yoon, Minho, and Hyejin managed to bring it down. As they held it to the ground, they got their first close look at one of the invaders, who thought they were invincible. The invasion of Earth had begun. But already things weren't going according to the Vicari plan. The alien struggled against the ropes that tied it to the chair. They had moved it to an underground bunker beneath the military base. The room was lit by emergency lights powered by generators. "I am Officer Traz of the Vicari fleet," the alien said in perfect Korean, surprising everyone. You will release me now or face severe punishment. Do-yoon, Ji-woo, Min-ho, Hye-jin, and Jun-ho stood watching their captive. None of them had ever imagined they would be the first humans to speak with an alien. How are you speaking our language? Ji-woo asked. The alien made a sound like a laugh. We have studied all your broadcasts for years. Your languages are simple. Min-ho stepped forward. Why are you attacking Earth? Attacking? We are claiming what is ours by right of strength, Traz said. The strong rule the weak. That is the way of the universe. We are not weak, Hye-jin said sharply. Traz looked at her with what seemed like pity. You are. You will learn this soon. Outside the room, they could hear people running and shouting. The base was one of the few places with working power, and soldiers and civilians were pouring in for safety. Watch him, Min-ho said to Hye-jin and Jun-ho. Do-yoon, Ji-woo, come with me. In the command center, screens showed chaos across the world. The alien ships now hung over major cities: New York, Beijing, London, Moscow, Tokyo, and 20 others. Smaller ships were landing in open areas, setting up what looked like bases. The base commander, General Kang, turned to them when they entered. Your alien friend tell you anything useful? They think we're weak, Do-yoon said. They're very confident. The president is trying to organize a global response, the general said. But with communications down, it's hard. Some countries are already talking about surrender. We can't surrender, Ji-woo said firmly. Look at this. She pulled up data on one of the working screens. I've been analyzing readings from their ships and from the alien we captured. Their biology is different from ours. Their homeworld must have lower gravity and less oxygen in the atmosphere. What does that mean for us? Min-ho asked. It means they might be stronger than us in space, Ji-woo explained. But here on Earth, they're at a disadvantage. Our gravity is heavier for them. Our air is too rich in oxygen for their lungs. The longer they stay here, the weaker they'll get. The general looked thoughtful. Can we use that? Maybe, Ji-woo said. But we need more information. Back in the holding room, Jun-ho was typing furiously on his laptop, which was connected by cables to a strange device. What is that? Do-yoon asked. I took it from the scout ship, Jun-ho said without looking up. It's like their version of a computer. I'm trying to hack into it. Any luck? Some, Jun-ho said. Their security is good, but not perfect. I figured out how their translation system works, and I think I can access their communication network. Hye-jin, who had been watching the alien closely, said, He's been breathing harder since we brought him here. Dr. Park, could you check if what you said about the oxygen is right? Ji-woo moved closer to examine Traz. The alien's breathing was, indeed, labored, and its scaled skin had a slightly different color than before. You're not well, she said to Traz. Is it our atmosphere? Traz turned away. I need to return to my ship. Tell us about your fleet first, Min-ho demanded. How many ships? How many soldiers? Enough to crush your world, Traz said, but his voice was weaker now. Suddenly, Jun-ho let out a shout of triumph. I'm in. I've accessed their network. Everyone gathered around his screen, where strange symbols flowed. Can you understand it? Do-yoon asked. Not yet, Jun-ho admitted. But He was interrupted by a loud boom that shook the building. Dust fell from the ceiling. They're bombing us, General Kang said, rushing into the room. The 24 hours aren't even up, but they've started attacking military bases. Admiral Crone is not patient, Traz said with a weak laugh. You should surrender now. On his command ship, Admiral Crone watched the first strikes against Earth's military bases with satisfaction. Why wait? He said to his officers. These humans are nothing. Their weapons have gone silent. Their leaders hide. Let's end this quickly. Officer Zelk approached cautiously. Admiral, we've lost contact with Scout Ship 7 in the region they call Korea. Crone frowned. Technical problems? Unknown, sir. But its emergency beacon was briefly activated before going silent. Send a strike team to investigate, Crone ordered, and prepare the first wave of ground troops. We'll start landings in 1 hour. Back at the base, Doyun and his team were racing against time. The building shook with each new explosion coming closer. "We need to move," General Kang said. "This base won't be safe much longer." "What about him?" Hyejin asked, pointing at Traz, who was now clearly struggling to breathe. "He comes with us," Jiwoo said. "I need to study him more, and he's our only bargaining chip if things go bad." "Things are already bad," Minho pointed out. Junho looked up from his laptop. "I think I've figured out part of their communications system. They use a neural network somehow. Their ships and soldiers are all connected. Can you use that?" Doyun asked. "Maybe," Junho said. "If I had more time." Another explosion hit, much closer. The lights flickered. "No more time," General Kang said. "We move now. There's an old bunker in the mountains. It was built during the Cold War. Off the grid. We'll be safer there." As they prepared to leave, the alien Traz looked at them with new interest. "You're not giving up," he said, sounding surprised. "No," Doyun told him. "We're not." They traveled by night in military trucks with their equipment and their alien prisoner. The roads were clogged with scared people trying to flee the cities. Above, they could see Vakari ships moving through the clouds, searchlights scanning the ground. "Landing parties," Minho said grimly. "The invasion has begun." In major cities around the world, Vakari troops were landing in open areas, parks, sports fields, wide avenues. They moved in perfect formation, their weapons ready. They expected humans to run in fear or surrender on the spot. Instead, they found something unexpected. In New York, police officers stood their ground against the first wave, their simple bullets, proving surprisingly effective against Vakari armor designed for energy weapons. In Tokyo, civilians threw Molotov cocktails at alien vehicles, setting them ablaze. In London, subway workers flooded tunnels that aliens had entered, drowning them in water their bodies couldn't handle. All over the world, humans were fighting back with whatever they had. Admiral Crone couldn't believe the reports coming in from his ground forces. "What do you mean, heavy resistance?" he shouted at his screen. "They're primitive, their weapons are ancient." "The gravity is stronger than we expected, Admiral," the ground commander reported. "Our troops tire quickly, and the atmosphere, it burns our lungs after a few hours. We need special breathing equipment." "Then use it," Crone snapped. "I want control of their major cities by tomorrow. No excuses." But as reports continued to come in, Crone began to worry for the first time. The humans were not surrendering as planned. They were fighting with unexpected skill and determination. And strangest of all, they seemed perfectly adapted to conditions that were rapidly weakening his own troops. Dawn was breaking as Doyun's group reached the mountain bunker. Built into the side of a mountain, it was nearly invisible from the air. Inside, they found supplies, basic equipment, and most importantly, safety. As they set up their equipment, Junho continued working on the alien device. Jiwoo examined Traz, who was now severely ill. "He won't survive much longer in our atmosphere," she told the others. "Their biology simply can't handle our oxygen levels." "Can you help him?" Doyun asked. "Why would you want to?" Hyejin cut in. "They're trying to kill us all." "Because we're not like them," Doyun said simply. Jiwoo nodded. "I can create a breathing mixture that might help, but I need supplies." "I'll go with you to find them," Minho offered. As they prepared to leave, Yunyo called them over excitedly. "I've broken through. I can access their full network now, and you won't believe what I'm seeing." On his screen was a view of Earth from space, but from the perspective of the Vakari fleet. They were watching the invasion through the aliens' own eyes. And what they saw gave them their first real hope. All across the planet, the invaders who thought they were invincible were meeting resistance they never expected, from humans who refused to surrender their home. 3 days had passed since the invasion began. In the mountain bunker, Doyun and his team worked without stopping. The small room hummed with the sound of computers and equipment they had salvaged. Junho hadn't slept much. His eyes were red as he stared at his screen, deep in the Vakari network. "They're losing troops faster than they expected," he reported, "but they're bringing down more ships." In the corner, Officer Traz sat breathing through a mask connected to a tank. Jiwoo had created a gas mixture that helped him survive in Earth's atmosphere. Though still their prisoner, Traz watched the humans with growing curiosity. "Why did you help me?" he asked Jiwoo when she checked his breathing. "We came to conquer your world." "Because that's what humans do," she replied. "We help when we can." Traz seemed confused by this idea. The door opened, and Minho and Hyejin returned from a scouting mission. They looked tired but excited. "We made contact with other resistance groups," Minho announced. "There are fighters organizing all over the world. The aliens control parts of major cities but not much else. And we found this," Hyejin added, putting a strange device on the table. It was clearly Vicari technology. It was on a dead alien soldier. Some farmers took him down when he tried to enter their barn. Junho immediately began examining the device. "This is their personal communicator, and look, it has maps." Everyone gathered around as he projected a 3D map showing Vicari troop positions across the globe. "They're mainly staying in the cities," Doyoon observed. "Why?" "The air is thinner. At higher elevations," Jiwoo explained. "That's why our mountain bunker is particularly hard for them. They're staying where breathing is easier." Traz made a sound and they all turned to look at him. "You want to say something?" Minho asked. Traz hesitated. "The cities are also where the collection points will be." "Collection points? For what?" Doyoon asked. "For humans," Traz said quietly. "The strong ones will be taken as workers, the rest—" He didn't finish. A heavy silence filled the room. Then General Kang entered carrying a radio. "We've made contact with what's left of the government," he announced. "They're organizing a coordinated counterattack in 3 days. They want whatever intelligence we have on the aliens." "Tell them about their weakness to our atmosphere," Jiwoo said, "and their struggle with our gravity." Doyoon looked thoughtful. "We need to do more than just share information. We need to strike a blow ourselves." On his command ship, Admiral Crone was furious. What should have been a simple conquest was turning into a nightmare. "How are these primitives defeating our troops?" he demanded. Officer Zelk looked nervous. "Sir, it seems the humans have natural advantages we didn't anticipate. Their bodies are adapted to this planet's heavy gravity and oxygen-rich air. Our soldiers tire quickly and need breathing assistance after just a few hours on the surface." "And their weapons?" Crone asked. "Simple but effective," another officer reported. "They use projectiles that tear through flesh rather than energy weapons we can deflect. And they fight in unpredictable ways, hiding, setting traps, attacking, then disappearing." Crone pounded his fist on the console. "Send down more troops. Double the number. We will crush them with sheer force." "Admiral," Zelk said cautiously, "we've also lost contact with Officer Traz. His scout ship was found empty. We believe humans may have captured him." Crone's eyes narrowed. "Find him, and find which humans took him. I want them destroyed as an example to others." Back in the bunker, Doyoon had gathered everyone to share his plan. "The Vicari have a weakness we can exploit," he explained. "Their neural network connects all their ships and soldiers. Junho, can you use that against them?" Junho nodded eagerly. "I've been studying their system. If I could access a main communication node, I could possibly disrupt their entire network. Maybe even feed them false information." "How do we get to a communication node?" Hyejin asked. "There's one here," Junho said, pointing to the map. "In what used to be Seoul City Hall. They've taken over the building as a local command center." "That's heavily guarded," General Kang warned. "Yes," Doyoon agreed. "But we have something they want." He looked at Traz. The alien straightened up. "You would use me as bait?" "Not exactly," Doyoon said. "More like a messenger." The next day they put their plan into action. Using parts from the scout ship they had captured, Junho built a small device that could connect to the Vicari network. Jiwoo prepared special gas masks that would filter out excess oxygen, making Earth's air breathable for the aliens. "Why are you showing me these?" Traz asked. "Because we want you to take them to your leaders," Jiwoo explained. "Show them we can help your people breathe better on our planet." Traz looked suspicious. "And why would you help us invade your world?" "We don't want more fighting," Doyoon said. "We want to talk, to find a peaceful solution." It wasn't the whole truth, but it wasn't a complete lie either. That night they drove Traz to the edge of Seoul. The city glowed with strange lights from Vakari ships and equipment. Alien patrols moved through the streets. "Remember the plan," Do-yoon told Traz. "Take our message to your commanders. Tell them we want to discuss peace terms." Traz looked at each of them. "You saved my life," he said finally. "That means something, even to a Vakari." He took the package containing the gas masks and Junho's special device and walked toward the alien checkpoint. As soon as Traz was gone, the real work began. While the aliens were distracted by the return of their lost officer, Do-yoon, Minho, and Hyejin slipped into the city through underground tunnels. Junho guided them remotely, using his access to the Vakari network to track patrol movements. "The communication node is on the 3rd floor." Junho's voice crackled through their earpieces. "But there are 6 guards." "We're not going through the front," Minho replied. "Hyejin found us another way." Hyejin led them to a service entrance used for building maintenance. The door was guarded by a single Vakari soldier who was clearly struggling to breathe, even with assistance. "Their weakness is getting worse," Jiwoo commented from the bunker, where she was monitoring the aliens' biosigns through Junho's hacked network. "Their bodies aren't adapting to our atmosphere." They waited until the guard stepped away to use his communicator, then slipped inside. The building was dark, lit only by the eerie blue light of Vakari technology. Slowly, they made their way up to the 3rd floor. Through office windows they could see the city, parts of it destroyed, other parts transformed by alien equipment. In the distance, a massive ship hovered over what used to be the central plaza. "That's their landing craft," Minho whispered, "where they bring in new troops and take out human prisoners," Hyejin added grimly. The communication node was in what had been the mayor's office. 2 guards stood outside, both wearing breathing masks. Inside they could see 3 Vakari technicians working at strange consoles. "We need a distraction," Do-yoon whispered. At that moment, alarms began blaring throughout the building. The guards looked at each other in confusion, then ran toward the sound. "What did you do?" Do-yoon asked into his communicator. "I sent a false alarm to the other side of the building," Junho replied, the smile evident in his voice. "You've got about 3 minutes before they realize it's fake." They rushed into the room. The Vakari technicians reached for weapons, but Minho and Hyejin were faster, knocking them unconscious with quick blows. Do-yoon plugged Junho's second device into the main console. "We're connected," he reported. "Junho, you're on." Back in the bunker, Junho's fingers flew over his keyboard. "I'm in their system, downloading everything I can and—" He paused, grinning. "Uploading our little surprise." The device blinked, green, then red. On the screens around them, Vakari text began scrolling rapidly. "Time to go," Do-yoon said. "Did you get what we needed?" "Everything and more," Junho confirmed. "Get out of there now." As they slipped back down the stairs, Do-yoon glanced out a window and saw Traz surrounded by Vakari officers near the main entrance. The alien looked up, somehow sensing their presence. For a moment their eyes met. Then Traz deliberately turned away, directing the officer's attention elsewhere. Maybe, Do-yoon thought, not all the Vakari were their enemies after all. They escaped through the tunnels just as more alarms began to sound. Behind them, the Vakari communication systems began to fail, their carefully coordinated invasion suddenly thrown into chaos by Junho's virus. It was a small victory, but an important one. For the first time since the invasion began, the humans had taken the offensive against enemies who had thought themselves invincible. "Admiral, our systems are failing." Officer Zelk's voice was filled with panic. All around the command center of the Vakari flagship, screens flickered and alarms sounded. Admiral Krone watched in disbelief as the carefully organized data of his invasion force dissolved into chaos. Communication links between ships broke. Tactical maps showed troops that weren't there. Orders went out garbled or not at all. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Some kind of virus in our network. A technician reported. It's spreading through all connected systems. Disconnect everything, Crone ordered. Separate the ships, break the neural links. Sir, if we do that, we lose our advantage of coordinated attack, Zelk warned. If we don't, we might lose everything, Crone snapped. Do it now. As his officers rushed to obey, Crone stared at the blue planet below. These humans were proving to be far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. In the mountain bunker, Junho pumped his fist in victory as he watched the Vakari network fall apart on his screen. It's working, he shouted. Their whole system is crashing. The team gathered around his computer, watching as alien ships suddenly changed course, some nearly colliding with each other. On the ground, Vakari troops stopped in confusion, their orders suddenly cut off. How long will it last? Doyun asked. Not long enough, Junho admitted. They'll figure out how to clear the virus eventually, but it gives us time. General Kang entered the room, his face serious but hopeful. The counterattack is ready, he announced. Forces around the world are preparing to strike while the aliens are confused. What's the plan? Minho asked. Hit their landing areas first, the general explained. Cut off their supply of fresh troops and equipment, then push them back in the cities. Ji Woo looked up from her own computer. I've been analyzing their biology more closely. The oxygen in our air doesn't just make breathing hard for them, it's actually toxic to them over time. Even with breathing equipment, they can't stay on our planet for long without getting sick. So they need to keep rotating fresh troops from their ships, Hyejin said, understanding immediately. Exactly, Ji Woo nodded. If we can cut off that rotation, then the troops already here will get weaker by the hour, Doyun finished. A plan was forming in his mind. General, we need to get a message to all resistance groups. Tell them to target the aliens' breathing equipment. Damage it if possible. Force them to breathe our air. The general nodded and left to send the message. What about us? Hyejin asked. What do we do? Doyun looked at each of them. We're going after their main landing ship. The Vakari landing ship was massive, hovering half a kilometer above what had once been Seoul's central plaza. Every few hours, smaller shuttlecraft would fly down from it, bringing fresh troops and supplies to the ground forces. Doyun's team watched from the roof of a nearby building. They had made it into the city by using the confusion caused by Junho's virus. How do we get up there? Minho asked, looking at the ship so far above them. We don't, Doyun said. We bring it down to us. He pointed to a large antenna on top of a nearby tower. That's part of their landing guidance system. Junho figured out that the ships follow a signal from those antennas when they land or take off. So if we change the signal, Hyejin began, we can bring the whole ship down. Unyo finished. Not crashing, but we can force it to land. They'll have guards, Minho warned. Fewer than before, Doyun said. Most were called to deal with the system failures, and those who remain will be getting weaker. They moved carefully through the empty streets. The city was eerily quiet. Most people had fled when the invasion began. Those who remained were hiding. As they approached the tower, they saw two Vakari guards at the entrance. Both were wearing breathing masks, but even so they moved slowly as if tired. The gravity is wearing them down, Jiwoo whispered. Their muscles aren't built for it. Hyejin raised her rifle, one of the few weapons they had. I can take them. From here. Wait, Doyun said. He pulled out a small device Jiwoo had made. Let's try this first. He turned it on. It released a clear gas that drifted toward the guards. Soon, their breathing masks began to fog up. The guards pulled at them, confused. Then, one by one, they collapsed. Oxygen concentrate, Jiwoo explained. Too much for their systems. They rushed forward, secured the unconscious guards, and entered the building. Inside, they found the control room for the antenna on the top floor. Two Vakari technicians tried to fight but were quickly overpowered. Junho sat at the alien console. This will take a few minutes, he said, connecting his laptop to their system. I need to change the landing codes without them noticing. Outside, they could hear explosions in the distance. The human counterattack had begun. Hurry, Doyun urged. Junho worked fast, his fingers flying over the keys. Done, he finally announced. Now we wait. They didn't have to wait long. Soon the massive landing ship above the plaza began to move. Slowly at first, then with increasing speed, it descended. "It's working!" Minho exclaimed, but then alarms began to sound from the console. "They've detected the fake signal," Junho said, worried. "They're fighting the landing command." The ship stopped its descent, hovering uncertainly. "Can you override it?" Doyun asked. "I'm trying," Junho said. "But they're blocking me now." Jiwoo stepped forward. "Let me help." She had been studying the Vakari language and technology since they captured Traz. Together, she and Junho worked to strengthen the landing signal. The ship shuddered, then began to descend again. But it was clear the pilots were fighting for control. It moved erratically, sliding to one side, then the other. "It's going to crash," Yejin said. "Everyone out," Doyun ordered. They grabbed their equipment and ran for the stairs. They made it to the street just as the massive ship, now completely out of control, clipped the top of a nearby building. Pieces of metal and glass rained down. The ship tilted, one of its engines, failing, and began a slow, devastating fall toward the plaza. The crash shook the entire city. The landing ship crushed everything beneath it, sending up a cloud of dust and debris that blotted out the sun. When the dust began to clear, Doyun and his team emerged from the shelter of a subway entrance where they had taken cover. "That wasn't exactly the plan," Minho said, looking at the destroyed ship. "No," Doyun agreed. "But it works. Their main way to bring troops into the city is gone." All across the city, they could hear gunfire and explosions as human forces engaged the confused and increasingly weakened Vakari troops. Similar scenes were playing out in cities around the world. The coordinated human counterattack, timed to coincide with the disruption of the alien network, was pushing the invaders back everywhere. In orbit, Admiral Crone received the reports with growing horror. Landing ships destroyed or disabled in 12 major cities. Ground troops cut off and under heavy attack. The breathing equipment for his soldiers failing faster than it could be replaced. "We must send in the reserve fleet," he told his officers. "Crush them with overwhelming force." Officer Zelk looked at him with doubt clear on his face. "Admiral, perhaps we should reconsider. These humans are nothing," Crone shouted. "I will not be the first Vakari commander to lose a conquest in 300 years. His eyes narrowed dangerously. "Prepare the planet killer weapon." The officers exchanged alarmed looks. The planet killer was a last resort, designed to make a world uninhabitable if it could not be conquered. "Sir," Zelk said carefully, the planet killer would destroy the very resources we came to claim. "If we cannot have this world," Crone said coldly, "then no one will." The battle for Seoul raged through the night. Human forces pushed forward street by street, building by building. The Vakari fought back, but they were growing weaker by the hour. Their breathing equipment was failing, and Earth's gravity pulled at their bodies, making each movement a struggle. In the command center set up in an underground mall, Doyun received reports from around the city. Most of them were good. The aliens were retreating. "We're winning," Minho said, looking at the battle map. Red dots showing alien positions were moving back, while blue dots of human forces pushed forward. "For now," Doyun agreed. "But we're still outgunned, and they have ships in orbit that could destroy entire cities." Jiwoo rushed in, her face serious. "We've intercepted a transmission from the Vakari command ship. It was partly scrambled, but Junho decoded enough." She looked at each of them with worried eyes. "They're preparing something called a planet killer." The room went silent. "What exactly is a planet killer?" General Kang asked finally. "From what we could decode, it's a weapon that spreads a toxic gas through a planet's atmosphere," Jiwoo explained. "It would kill most life on Earth." "How do we stop it?" Hyejin asked. Junho, who had been quiet until now, looked up from his computer. "We need to get to their command ship." Everyone stared at him. "And how exactly do we do that?" Minho asked. "With that," Junho said, pointing to a screen showing a smaller Vakari ship that had been captured mostly intact when the landing ship crashed. "I've been studying their systems. I think I can fly it." Admiral Crone watched as technicians prepared the planet killer device. It was a silver sphere about 1 meter across, covered with small holes. Once released into Earth's upper atmosphere, it would spread a gas that would react with oxygen, creating a poison that would spread across the globe in days. "Is it ready?" he asked. "Yes, Admiral," a technician replied. "But I must again advise against this action. The High Command did not authorize. I am in command here," Crone snapped. "And I will not return in defeat." Officer Zelk approached cautiously. "Admiral, we're detecting a ship approaching from the planet's surface. It's one of ours, but it's not responding to identification requests." Crone frowned. "Shoot it down." "Our weapon systems are still not fully functioning after the virus attack," Zelk reported. "And the ship is using proper approach codes." Crone hesitated. "It could be survivors from the ground forces. Allow it to dock, but have armed guards ready." Inside the stolen Vakari ship, Do-yoon, Minho, Hyejin, Jiwoo, and Junho were tense but focused. The plan was dangerous, perhaps impossible, but they had no choice. "Are you sure these will work?" Do-yoon asked, checking the breathing masks they wore. They were designed to make them look like Vakari soldiers from a distance. "No," Jiwoo admitted, "but the Vakari are tall. Their helmets should cover most of our faces." Junho was at the controls, his fingers moving confidently across the alien console. He had spent hours studying the captured ship, learning its systems. Now, as they approached the massive Vakari command ship, he input the docking codes he had taken from their network. "We're cleared to dock," he announced, surprised. "They bought it." "So far," Minho cautioned. "The hard part comes next." The small ship docked smoothly in a bay inside the larger vessel. Through the windows, they could see Vakari guards waiting. "Remember the plan?" Do-yoon said quietly. "Move fast. Don't speak. Find the planet killer and disable it." They pulled on the Vakari helmets, straightened to their full heights, and opened the door. The guard captain was immediately suspicious of the strange group that exited the shuttle. They moved oddly, and their uniforms didn't quite fit. "Identification," he demanded. One of the figures stepped forward and held out a device. When the captain took it, the device emitted a high-pitched sound. The captain and his guards clutched their ears in pain. The sound was harmless to humans but agonizing to Vakari hearing. In the confusion, Do-yoon and his team ran past them, deeper into the ship. Alarms began to sound, but they kept moving, following the map Junho had downloaded from the Vakari network. "This way to the weapon bay," Junho said, pointing left at a junction. They rounded a corner and ran straight into a group of Vakari officers. Their disguises wouldn't fool anyone up close. For a moment, both groups froze in surprise. Then one of the Vakari reached for a weapon. Minho and Hyejin moved first, their bodies accustomed to Earth's stronger gravity, making them faster and stronger than the Vakari expected. They knocked down 2 officers before the aliens could react, but there were too many. The humans were surrounded with weapons pointed at them from all sides. "Surrender," a Vakari officer ordered. Slowly, they raised their hands. Admiral Crone stared at the 5 humans brought before him on the bridge of his command ship. "So," he said, "you are the ones who have caused so much trouble." Do-yoon met his gaze steadily. "You made a mistake coming here," Crone continued. "Now you will watch as I destroy your world." On a large screen, they could see the silver sphere of the planet killer being loaded into a launch tube. "Why?" Jiwoo asked suddenly. "Why destroy a world you came to conquer?" "Because you left me no choice," Crone snarled. "The Vakari never retreat. If we cannot rule your world, we will end it." "There is always another choice," said a voice from the door. Everyone turned to see Officer Traz enter the bridge. He moved slowly, still weak from his time on Earth, but his voice was strong. "This human," he said, pointing to Jiwoo, "saved my life when she could have let me die. Their world is harsh to us, yes, but they are not the savages we thought they were." "You dare question me?" Crone growled. "I dare speak the truth," Traz replied. "Our invasion is failing. Our troops are dying, not because of human weapons, but because we cannot survive in their world. We never could. As they spoke, Jun-ho was slowly reaching into his pocket for a small device, another virus carrier he had prepared, designed to disable the launch system for the planet killer. They tricked you, Crone told Traz. Used you. Perhaps, Traz admitted. But I have seen how they fight, not just for conquest, but for their home. That is something we once understood, before we became conquerors. While attention was focused on Traz and Crone, Junho slipped the device into a data port on a nearby console. Lights flickered briefly across the bridge. Crone noticed and turned. What was that? What did you do? He demanded. Alarms began to sound, and a voice announced, Launch systems failing. Weapon deployment aborted. Crone roared in anger and drew his weapon, aiming at Do-yoon. But before he could fire, Minho threw himself forward, tackling the admiral. They crashed to the floor, struggling for the weapon. The bridge erupted into chaos. Guards rushed forward. Hyejin and Do-yoon fought back, their earthborn strength surprising the Vicari. Jiwoo and Junho ran to a console, working to extend the virus through more of the ship's systems. In the middle of the fight, the main screen suddenly activated. It showed the space around Earth where dozens of new ships were appearing. Admiral, Officer Zelk shouted over the noise. Earth ships are rising from the planet, hundreds of them. Everyone stopped fighting to look at the screen. Rising from Earth were ships of all kinds, military vessels, converted civilian craft, even what looked like hastily armed space stations. A ragtag fleet, but enormous in number. Impossible, Crone whispered. They don't have space combat capability. They didn't, Traz said, but it seems they learned quickly, from us. The human fleet surrounded the Vicari ships, which were still suffering from the effects of Junho's original virus, and now faced a new attack from the inside. A transmission came through on the main speakers. Vicari command ship, this is General Kang of Earth Defense. Your ground forces have been defeated. Your ships are surrounded. Surrender or be destroyed. Crone looked around at his officers. They were tired, confused, and clearly losing hope. Many were already showing signs of oxygen toxicity, even here on their own ship. Admiral, Zelk said quietly, we cannot win this fight. Not here. Not against these humans. For a long moment, Crone stood in silence. Then his shoulders slumped. Send the surrender signal, he said finally. The invasion is over. 3 days later, Do-yoon stood with his team on a hillside overlooking Seoul. The Vicari ships were leaving Earth's orbit, returning to their home systems under escort from the new Earth fleet. I still can't believe we won, Junho said, watching. The ships shrink to points of light in the blue sky. They thought they were invincible, Hyejin said, but they didn't understand what they were up against. Not just us, Jiwoo added. Our world itself fought them, the gravity, the atmosphere. Earth protected its own. Do-yoon nodded. They came looking for an easy conquest. Instead, they found a species that had evolved on a world that would kill them slowly. And now they know better than to return. As the last Vicari ship disappeared from view, General Kang joined them on the hillside. The treaty is signed, he announced. Earth is recognized as a sovereign world, off limits to Vicari expansion. And what about us? Minho asked. What do we do now? Do-yoon looked up at the stars, just becoming visible as evening fell. Now, he said, we prepare, because there are more than just the Vicari out there, and next time we won't be caught by surprise. The team stood together watching the darkening sky. The invasion was over, Earth had survived, and humanity had proven itself to be far stronger than anyone, even themselves, had imagined.